Hello, Milan.
Hello. Hi.
Thank you for accepting to do this interview with me. I wanted to take the time to ask you some questions to know more about your background, your dance background, and also to be able to know you more outside of dance as well. So to begin, for the people that might not know you, can you introduce yourself?
Thank you for inviting me. It's lovely also to be here in Montreal for the first time. Well, my name is Milan Tomášik. I originally come from Slovakia, where I was born. I grew up and I studied dance at conservatory. Later, a short stop in Bratislava, in the capital of Slovakia, studying at the academy, and finishing kind of my studies in Brussels at Parts, let's say.
So after Parts, if I'm not wrong, you co-created the dance collective Les Slovaks with 4 of your friends, like a year after you graduated.
Maybe 2 years or something like this, yeah.
And so I wanted to know, where does this come from? What did you want to do? What did you want to do with this collective when it first started? What was your goal for this at first?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we were 5 dancers, 4 of us very close friends before actually we came to Brussels to study. There we met Martin Kilvadi. So somehow it was always kind of natural to hang around since we almost grew up together. So naturally we knew each other very well, the good sides, but also the bad side. And we kind of wished to do something together. So already during studies we started to work together, creating like a short or like student performances. So there it started, and then there was a wish to put it on the professional stage. So how can we share as friends, our art with people? So that's how we started.
Nice. And so you choreographed 3 pieces together, and so I was curious of how the process of choreographing together or dancing together was, and like how do you remember it?
Yeah, exactly. We did altogether 3 performances. It's kind of tricky to call it choreography or choreographed because we were collective, so it was a collective work, and also the nature of work, it's different. Like we used mostly spontaneous movements, spontaneous decisions, especially with the first piece, opening night. It was based on instant composition. There was a structure, and the rehearsal process actually took perhaps the longest. Like we took several months with breaks in between, but we work on dancing on different rules. So we established rules that we kind of repeated, and we wanted to improve it and to see what are these rules can bring into overall performance. So somehow we built the whole show, like it's a very dense physical piece around like varied, colorful rules. So one example is how we practiced, that we said every day as we rehearse, towards the end of the day, like the last hour, let's make short performances. So for ourselves, just to kind of try out, as we do in the class, in the workshop, that sometimes as we work on certain qualities, we are very much inside of the body and like really focusing on the inner feelings, sensations, and the processes, to as well shift it immediately into the like outer, like presence and composition and etc. So we establish every day 20 minutes short performance, and this we did for many weeks, and it really became a practice, like practicing performing. So where we could apply immediately those rules, on the presence level, let's say. And at the end, actually, these 20 minutes became the first 20 minutes of the performance. So that's basically what we, through the all the process practiced it, it became the show itself. Plus, of course, there were other parts that consisted of the final show, as like the solo of one of us, that we decided always on the stage who is going to do it. And then there was also a solo of Simon Thierry, our musician, who composed all the music for our shows. And then the last part, which was like the last 15-20 minutes as well. So yeah, it was a very kind of alive, physical and fun work, I would say. Like this I talk mainly of the first piece. And then with the other pieces, there was always a slightly different direction. So we were always questioning as well, like, what do we want to do together? Like, since we did this first piece, which was based on friendship and our kind of, who we are, and we wanted to professionally share it, there was a question, how do we go on? How do we continue? So with the second piece called Journey Home, we came back to our roots, to who we are, to our background, traditions. So it was, really going into, because four of us, we also did a lot of folk dance when we studied, so like singing, dancing. So we wanted to bridge the folk culture with contemporary dance. So we were, we chose a song that we were singing in the piece. We used also one part of the performance was really traditional kind of stamping part, but as well as different kind of dance, scenes were kind of melted or very much influenced by the folk culture, including the costume design. So that was the second piece. And the last piece called Fragments was again very different, already by the visuals. We had all like super white costumes, and I would say was the most theatrical and the most choreographed as well, comparing to the first piece, which was very open, just one structure and with four different scenes. And the last piece, Fragments, was really very theatrical, very musical. Simon composed music for the orchestra, so that was also very different as well. And we were also lucky enough to perform with several shows with the live music, so in few opera houses with the orchestra, so that was beautiful. So this is kind of a general characterization of our work within the three performances we did together.
I wanted to ask you also about all the solo work that you did. You choreographed how many now? 5 solo?
I don't count them anymore because it's also like where do you start counting, right? I started very young when I was a student. One thing was like part of the curriculum at school that we had to create solo or we have to create duet. But I naturally inclined into like solo work as much as I love group work or collective work. Like for me, it goes together. So yeah, maybe 5, 6, I don't know. Like first, I would say like professional, let's say like with the light design, kind of really decision making and having a crew around supporting the piece. I think it was, 20 years ago, 2006, called Within, which actually I toured quite a lot. So it was nice to show it in different venues, different cultures of different countries. Very minimalistic solo, kind of intersection of lights, music, and me, and dance, and the body, let's say. Yeah, that was the first one, yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you, same for Les Slovaks, what do you remember for all those creative processes that you did for every solo?
What I remember.
Yeah, like how, what can you share through your process? Like, how do you work alone? How do you create a solo? And what are, like, for example, the challenges you met along the processes of making the solo?
Yeah, I mean, solo is a special form, right? And since I started, kind of creating it 20 years ago, so of course there is a huge, I would say, evolution and transformation and a lot of changes, even in the approach, in who I am, as you are aging, kind of from very young dancer, graduate into more mature with more experiences. So things are changing in terms of like topics, ideas, what is my interest. In the beginning, of course, it was, I don't even recall all the memories, all the experiences, but somehow I always know with the solo work, I try to do it when there is certain urge, certain like strong need to do it. This, I try to go more from the kind of gut feeling that not just to create solo because it's a new or another solo, but there has to be a strong reason why I do it. Otherwise, I don't do it. I don't go into the studio. I don't start thinking, and this process of doing it, usually it's very long. I first start collecting ideas. I write them down. It can be anything, any impacts, any inspirations from music, from movie, from nature, from discussion with interesting people. Sometimes it's just a thoughts, a sentence or a quote. Sometimes it's really just the nature that is offering you kind of beautiful either silence or sound, or seeing beautiful landscape. So there are many different impacts, but it's also from the daily life. So it's not kind of separated when I talk about the landscape to get out of the reality, but actually it's pretty much about how do we live every day. So including the local or even world politics. So it's there, but never, I think, in my work, I would say, let's say directly. So it's always there. I think about it many times. It's bothering me, like how much should I be specific or not. But it's all the questions are there. And all the questions that we live in that moment are for me in a way, manifested in that pieces. Although of course each piece, each solo work has very kind of also, I would say, unique vision or unique idea what it is about, and I try to kind of round it up around that idea.
I wanted to talk then about choreographing on other people or a larger group, for your company, but also for like commission work that you had throughout your career. And it says in your bio on your website, launching an international dance company was therefore a natural continuation of his solo career, and at the same time a need to sharpen his ideas, which was possible only through group works. So I wanted to ask you, what did you find choreographing for groups that you couldn't find on your own?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think it came partly from because I started the career more as a solo dancer. I mean, there was always a parallel of the collective, Les Slovaks, but at the same time, I was always interested in my own research, and then like exploration in it, and then how it could manifest in bigger scales, let's say, so to have more people. And I experienced that many times, like people would ask me directly, like, okay, so what's the new solo about? I'm like, it's not the solo work, So that's why I said, no, it's a company work, So it came very gradually and naturally, like, okay, it's like if you can only achieve through the means that you have, like it's with the food is the same. So you can cook certain food if you have that specific ingredients. If you don't have them, so you cannot cook it, right? So the same for me is composition, choreography. So in order to kind of continue in terms of evolving my work, to really developing it into a kind of dynamic, I would say dynamics, with solo you have very limited dynamics, right? But with 3 people, 5 people, 6 people and more, I think you can start playing with, spacing, dynamics and relationship, etc. So it was as a natural, need to have people. I also love to work with people. I also love, the energy, the chemistry, the exchange, the influences, how each person is contributing to the work. Like you have a certain task, certain aim, you give it on table and you see the responses. And I think this kind of constantly, sharing, discovering things. I think it's one of the beautiful part of art, or at least as a research that then contributes into the overall choreography. So I always like to work with people that are inspiring for me. There is certain kind of link, or it has to click. It doesn't mean it has to be like your friends. It's just enough that it's inspiring. So either it's like people, maybe it's contrasting, like different characters, or so. Yeah. So some things, in order to manifest them, needs a different form. So that's why I started the company, And maybe also on this idea between like the company work, where you choose exactly which dancers you want to work with. That's kind of a benefit of it. So, and most of the time it was either my students, so you really know them. So that was a kind of a very like a good side of it. And then there is, on the other hand, the commission work, which has the production benefit because you can focus solely only on the art. You are not busy with funding, producing it. But the other side is that you never know who do you get, who do you work with. So you have pros and cons. Yeah.
And then I want to ask you if you find it harder choreographing solo or group works.
I mean, so far when I did solos, if I remember well, I did solos on me. So it's different if you would do solos on somebody else. Uh, as I mentioned slightly in one of the answers, that for me this like solo work and group work, it's kind of interrelated. Like I don't perceive it like as opposite in terms of the form, of course, but many ideas you develop or you gain through the solo work that you can apply later there, and then opposite. So it's not just like a different world. So I would say this is kind of my quick answer. Yeah.
And did you ever thought of transmitting your solo to I don't know, more like the new generation of dancer, like retake your solo from, like, if I take a which is this solo 2016, like if you want to teach that to someone that will perform for you, or you want to keep it that if it's not you, then it's not the same solo, maybe.
It happened already a few times, that especially the academy in Salzburg in Austria, they have the program, I think in their fourth year, that each student had to kind of learn the material of a choreographer. So I think it happened maybe twice, three times, twice for sure. That once was the solo 2016, that one student did it, and there was another student, actually it was the solo from LES SLOVAKS that I had there. So, but I think it happened even more time, but maybe I forgot. So yeah, I think it's great. I think it's great to see both ways. For me as an author of the piece, how it can manifest on other people, how to make it personal, individual, so they can kind of benefit even more. Not that they kind of copy, or like it's a copy of Milan, but in other body, But how can we, that characteristics, ideas, transform into a new person, So this is interesting. Yeah. I did it, and I was always overwhelmed, like positively. It was always pleasure to watch. I was always super supportive, So yeah.
Being such a like productive artist, like creating a lot of pieces for like solo for yourself or company or for other people, are you scared to repeat yourself in one piece to another, or and so I wanted to know how you manage to make every piece is different in such a large like production of pieces that you did in your career.
I would say I have opposite problem. I'm like pity that the day has only 24 hours. Like I usually fight with, like, I have so many ideas. There are so many interesting things that I want to do. So many interesting people, artists that I want to work with, collaborate, or at least to meet, to have a conversation, to work with somebody else, or, that somebody would work for me. Like, for me, it's endless. I have opposite problem, like, how do I manage my time within the projects that I have, because it's a lot. And I think it's partly because I love what I do, and partly because I do teaching fully. I do dancing, performing still fully if I can, and I manage. I try to stay in shape, and I choreograph. So it's like, three different fields, let's say, although connected, of course. So I have to always find a way how to swim, to go with the flow, that I can still give my full self into that, so it doesn't suffer, within the quality. So I'm not afraid, because every work is different, every context is different. As now I'm here for the first time in Canada, so it's so different. It's new, and a new country, new continent, new city, and the system, and I don't know. It's just like, even if I do, let's say, let's take it literally, like one idea, but because of the environment or the context is different, it's naturally influence that idea. So I'm not afraid at all. Yeah.
You really receive, like, you're really inspired by what's around you. So I guess you're always changing.
Yeah. I try to go very much with the flow. I love all this kind of a Taoistic, philosophy or ideas of principles of yin yang, going, with seasons. Like, I mean, I don't need to say all the things, but somehow, it's also the way of life. How do you live? How do you perceive people? Are you nice to people? Are you sharing with people? Like, I think already, like, enjoying the life and sharing it, it's already a lot. Many times I would be maybe like stressed, or like just focusing on the work and qualities or certain rules or principles, and forgetting the totality. And older I get, I believe it's also about living life, just, sitting here with you, having conversation, going for coffee or having tea, meeting with your friends, sharing thoughts, like making meaningful things are as important as working on in the studio. Those who knows me, like, tension number one, like, it's just like one part, very important, but it's the totality is so huge, so more, I include the different sections of your life. I mean, richer you are, and you can kind of function more easily, because you go with the flow of what is constant. So I wanted to share this kind of a flow of living.
So in parallel of all of this, you're also teaching. So on your website, you can see at first you were teaching happy feet, what you call happy feet. Then you taught playful presence, and now you're teaching poetic body. So I just wanted to know if poetic body is a mix of happy feet and playful presence, or if it's something new, but like how your teaching career or aspect of your career transformed throughout the year.
Exactly, it's the mixture of both, happy feet and playful presence. So sometimes during teaching I still say, okay, this is the happy feet part, or in terms of like a instant composition, I would say this is the playful presence part. But since I used it for years, this happy feet label, let's say, and when you evolve and you transform the teaching, so it's not anymore just like jumping happily and all the time super quick. I mean, it's this, and it's about articulation and rhythm, rhythmicality, musicality. But when I see it, how I teach and what I teach. Like it's the fullness, like from A to Z, like like the wholeness. It's so many diverse things, with including different qualities, different things. So just to reduce it to happy feet, it sounds a little bit it's not accurate anymore. So that's why I said, okay, it's much more. And actually, the label comes, I think, 5 years ago. I was invited to teach in a university in Bratislava, actually where I studied in the beginnings. So choreographer from there, a teacher invited me, and so before coming, I had to send a description, and bio, etc. So I sent, it was still, I think, Playful Presence or Happy Feet, and I arrive, and I see on the desk, Poetic Body. I'm like, they changed my, description. But I liked it, So I said, okay, actually it is, there is certain truth in it, what I do, that's okay. So somehow it kind of stayed, and I said, okay, I will inhibit the poetic part of it, yeah.
So I want to know where those practice come from, and was it a need to teach your practice, or you just wanted to share your practice, and also what inspired you to create those practices?
I mean, I teach almost as much as I started, or as long as I started to dance. So my first school, conservatory, includes also a part that they call it pedagogical minimum, So officially I was trained also in pedagogy. So, I had to teach quite in the beginning when I was still student, kids. So it started there, and I soon realized that I enjoy it. It's nice to be with people. It's nice to share ideas. It's a big responsibility, because especially when you teach young people, which I don't do anymore, or not that often. It's mostly now professionals or like a mixture, but not anymore kids. But it was a great lesson, great beginning to teach also the kids, and I teach already for so many years that I don't really know where does it come from. When you ask me that question, as I consider it as, drinking water, eating food, like a daily needs, like it's a need, It's a need. I love it. I love to share. I love to be with people. And many times, again, it's not just the sharing the knowledge and the experience, which I think that's why people come to you, of course, but it's also who you are, especially within the, I would say, the teaching environment. There is certain capacity of really going beyond of what you know. It's just like a lot about who you are, and that's why I love it. And I think that's also part of why I feel comfortable, and I don't have a kind of fear or something that would block me, or of course there is always a moment that you don't know as a teacher, but this is exactly what the teaching defines, that you are non-stop asking, questioning, redefining, transforming, defining again, finding it, grabbing it, and then again seeing the things in different contexts, and the new people, so it's a life and environment, because as I travel a lot, as I teach a lot, there's always a new discovery. Even this week while being here, like when we talk about tensions, the scale of tensions, and I know it for many years because I do it already since, I don't know, I think 2013, 14 intensively. But there is always an aspect that the way how students ask, I'm like, okay, I never ask myself that perspective or that question, And of course, I'm used to, have different kind of things that people bring, so it's true when you do something that you go so much, so deep, or like you develop your method or whatever principles so widely. So of course there is like kind of less surprises, but if you stay open, always a new element comes, because it's exactly what, what I think is valued when you share with your students, so you know what you are doing, right?
I wanted to know, why did you choose, the theme of the tension in your work? Where does this part of Poetic Body come from?
I think there are maybe few reasons. I don't remember them all, but I remember two strong influences. One was my formal education. I mean, the last one before I started the research with tensions, with parts, where it was a lot about release, like letting go and, moving in an efficient way, etc. Which is like kind of one thing. Second thing is to be able to use the full range of possibilities of moving. So in that way, I thought, my dancing lacks something, like it's not the full in terms of expression, in terms of like, the range of movement, etc. The second impact was reading fantastic book, Lawrence Loop, theoretician, that it was published, I think, first time in French. I don't know exactly the original because I read it in Slovenian and English. The Poetics of Contemporary Dance. I really recommend, fantastic book. I have it at home, so sometimes I come back to it. And yeah, that was the second inspiration, that it brought me my kind of internal wishes together with the book, that I felt, okay, it's really something that I want to do.
You say about the practice Poetic Body on your website. Poetic Body is about the ability to execute any desired action fully, passionately, and with ease. And when I read that on your website, I felt that that's exactly what I feel when I see you dance in class. When I see you dance, I see really like you move in a really instinctive and confident way as well. And so I was wondering if you ever doubt yourself in the movement, or as well, like you seem really like a confident person. You know what you do and everything, and in the studio as well. So I wanted to know if you ever doubt yourself.
I'm confident because that's the only thing I know. So naturally, that's what I do for years, and that's what I love, that's what I do, that's what I practice, that's what I come back or return back to it. So it's, here I'm confident, I agree. But if you ask me about something else, there are doubts, like I cannot do many things because I do the whole life dancing, like I do the dance art, so yeah.
You talked about it a little bit before, but I wanted to know, how do you met Qi Gong? Like, how you started Qi Gong, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah, actually, I started practicing myself Qi Gong during the COVID. So every kind of negative thing or like a minus has a also positive side. And when the lockdown happened, so I was in my living room, and first month felt great. Everything stopped, and like we could have enough time to do what we love, like to be closer to the nature. And at the same time, after longer time, it was also scary as well. But the good side was that friend of mine, Zuna Kozanková, started to teach online, which was great because she lives in different country. And I was like, okay, I try. I see what it is. And she was giving classes of Qigong via Zoom. So I joined, and I realized it's fantastic. It's exactly what I need. Because before I kind of felt every morning, it took time that I start, like I felt tired for a long time. You drink coffee and then up and down. So even a lot of drugs did not help. And with kind of stimulating the energy, starting slowly to circulate, rotate the joints, because it's really about the energy much more than really sweating and using the muscles. I realized it's exactly what I needed. So I was super happy to discover this. I mean, I knew Zuna from before. She was in one part also kind of my teacher for a very short time, and I did a workshop as well. So we know each other. So it was kind of a nice, and how we say recounter, or how we say it, yeah,
yeah, I don't know, like a reunion.
yeah, exactly, yeah. And so I was super happy, and it was also a period when she started to write. She wrote a book in Slovak, first book, it became bestseller. Wow, the Tao, really general book about Taoism and the principles, the basic ideas. It was very successful, so I immediately ordered it. I read it. I was like, wow, it really supported the practical exercises with the theory, so it was a great combination. And later she wrote more books, so now I can also use this to promote it. With the last one in English, specifically for movers, dancers. So if people have a chance or they're interested, as a complementary to dance, I would say it's called Tao of Movement. So yeah.
I wanted to ask you if you have any recommendation of cultural things like movies, books. You got recommended Tao of Movement by your friend. You talked to me yesterday about Yoshi Oida.
Yoshi Oida, yeah.
You can talk about that,
Yeah.
or anything that you saw recently that inspired you and you would like to share for people to see or discover.
I mean, there are plenty. I mean, more and more literature and books, for sure. Since you mentioned it, so I talk about a big inspiration. It comes from the theater. Yoshi Oida is a Japanese actor, but lives in Europe. I don't know, at least 50 plus years. He's known for working with Peter Brook, so they work in Paris. So yeah, he wrote several books, very practical, beautiful, partly spiritual. I would say almost ritualistic. And since he comes from Japan, so it's kind of nice overlapping of Japanese culture with the Western culture, as well as the physical approach to acting, which is very close to us, to dancers, right? So I found many things that we can apply either in the dance studio as a dancer or as a maker, as a choreographer. So this was very inspiring in one part of my life. But yeah, there are other books or other literature that for sure, we are all very different and in different phases of our life. So it also depends where you are at in your career, what are your interests today, because for me it's also changing. You have different interests when you're 20, 30, 40, yeah.
I wanted to ask you, what is the best advice somebody ever gave you?
The best advice, wow. I mean, I since we talked about the books, I talk a lot of inspirations or advices, as a partner from the authors who writes, the book, because that's, you manifest the energy of the author, right? So Joe Dispenza says, where attention goes, energy flows.
Okay, well, I think we're done. Over.
Super. Thank you very much.
Of course, thank you so much, Milan. I
Yeah.
hope to see you again in Montreal.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
well, thank you.